So I'm sure by now you guys are familiar with the Republican conspiracy theory regarding the Super Bowl. I think it was Vivek Ramaswamy who was the first one to come out and say this, but he pointed out, I think they're going to rig the Super Bowl so that the Kansas City Chiefs win. And when that happens, Travis Kelce is going to propose to Taylor Swift, and they're going to come out and endorse Joe Biden. And in his mind, this is like, the big ace up the sleeve for Democrats. And it's scaring Republicans. Charlie Kirk has flipped out over Taylor Swift recently. Jack Posobiec was talking about this as well. They have Taylor Swift. We have John Voight and Kid Rock. It's like, all right, dude, good luck with that. But I'm not kidding when I say Republicans negatively polarize themselves against the number one pop star on the planet and football. So, this past Super Bowl was like the most political one in a while because all the conservatives were rooting for San Francisco, ironically, right? They hate San Francisco. They think it's a liberal wasteland of homelessness and drug abuse and all. But they were all rooting for San Francisco because San Francisco is not, the Kansas City Chiefs, which have Travis Kelce, who they hate because he has a deal. He did ads for Pfizer and for Bud Light and, whatever. And he's dating Taylor Swift, who is a liberal and endorsed Biden in 2020. Anyway, so the whole conspiracy theory is like, Joe Biden's going to rig the Super Bowl. The Democrats are going to rig the Super Bowl so that they can get this big endorsement from Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Okay. So when the Super Bowl ended in overtime with a comeback win by the Kansas City Chiefs, Biden comes out there and tweets the following. Just like we drew it up with the dark Brandon eyes. So this is obviously him kind of mocking the Vivek Ramaswamys of the world, the people who unironically thought there was some conspiracy where Joe Biden can ring the Super Bowl. By the way, think about how bipolar Republicans are in how they talk about Biden. On the one hand, it's like he's this doddering old fool who doesn't know how to tie his shoes and his brain is melting. And on the other hand, he's this evil genius mastermind who's behind anything and everything everywhere. You kind of got to pick one or the other. You can't have it both ways. Now, of course, I'm of the opinion that Joe Biden is much closer to the former than the latter. He's really old and he's struggling and he's not the guy he was even 5 years ago, right? But anyway, so he comes out and mocks this. Is it a good tweet? Honestly, yeah, I think it's a good tweet. I think it plays into the goofiness. I think this tweet probably created a couple thousand paranoid schizophrenics, Republicans who saw this and thought it was like serious and he actually did rig it and they had like mental breakdowns. I think it's a good tweet. Now, having said that, there was one response to it which I found compelling, and it's, of course, the left-wing response to it, which is like, you're tweeting this at the exact same time that Israel is bombing Rafah and killing at least 100 civilians and, ramping up the genocide. And so to tweet just like we drew it up with these laser eyes at the same time that the Israeli government is doing bombing with U.S. weapons and U.S. money and killing kids, very dystopian. So I saw some good left-wing criticisms of Biden over this. And look, on that point, I think it's fair, right? I mean, obviously, this was intended to respond to the Vivek Ramaswamy type conspiracy theories out there that he rigged the Super Bowl. That's the purpose of it. But it is, if you look at it through that lens, the fact that he's tweeting this at the same time that U.S. weapons are bombing babies in Gaza, it's dark, man. It's dark. That's really dark. So anyway, that was the criticism I thought was legitimate of this tweet. It came from the left. I think they're correct. But if you remove that angle of it, I do think it's clever that he's sort of poking fun at the people who think he's some sort of evil mastermind who's behind everything. Well, Jordan Peterson saw this, and let's just say he had a criticism of his own. So he jumps off the top rope here and says, seriously, who the hell thinks this faux shadow integration idiocy is appropriate? It's as bad as or worse than the Philadelphia speech. It's damn near demonic. Demonic. Jordan, what am I going to do with this guy, man? So he's not making the lefty critique of like, hey, you're tweeting this as U.S. bombs are landing on children's heads in Gaza. I don't even know exactly what his criticism is. I don't think he even knows what his criticism is. He brings up the Philadelphia speech in there. You guys know which one he's talking about? It was the one where Biden had the red lights behind him and Republicans freaked out and claimed that Biden was going after all Republicans and 50% of the country and saying, oh my God, he's generalizing about us and he's smearing us and he's saying we're beyond the pale. And meanwhile, if you go listen to the speech, nothing has ever been more clear in human history that he says, I'm not talking about all Republicans. There's many great Republicans who I've worked with on many issues. You know, I'm only talking about the extremists. I'm only talking about the MAGA Republicans who are the main problem. So in the speech that he made the distinction everybody wanted him to make, they pretend like he didn't make it. They just pretend like he said something totally different. This is my problem with these people, right? Look, it's all fine and dandy to have criticisms. By all means, have criticisms. But at least make them accurate. At least make them reasonable. Like, if you tell them, name what's wrong with that Philadelphia speech, they will all bring up the thing that I said. They'll all say, oh, he was generalizing and smearing all Republicans, 50% of the country, when he was very clear not to do that in the speech. So it's like, well, then what is your real criticism? They don't have a real criticism. So what's your criticism here? What he's doing is demonic? Why? Because he has red laser eyes? Who are we kidding? Okay. Jordan Peterson has a bigger problem with this. Biden trolling in response to a bunch of idiots who think he controls everything. He's more angry at this than he was at, for example, Donald Trump saying, I want to suspend the Constitution and get my ass back in power. See, Jordan, that doesn't make any sense. Jordan, that's dumb. If you're more angry at this than at Trump saying, I want to suspend the Constitution, I think you need to check your priorities. But more importantly, it's check your partisanship. Because what's become of Jordan Peterson? What's become of Jordan Peterson is he's a Daily Wire guy now. So to sum up his worldview, Republicans good, Democrats bad. Like, that's it. There's nothing deeper than that. It's, Republicans good, let's play defense for them. Democrats bad, let's go on the offense against them. I'm going to call a goofy trolling picture demonic. Faux shadow integration idiocy. Faux shadow integration idiocy. Look, I want to compare this Biden post. Hold on one second here. I'm going to compare this Biden post to one that I just saw Trump made. All right, so we're comparing that Biden post, his trolling joke post that, Jordan Peterson is so offended by. Let's compare that to a Trump post that just came out. Trump tweeted this on Truth Social. Trump was right about everything. Trump was right about everything. Now, look, to me, that's just funny, right? Like, it's funny because Trump is a joke of a person. It's just funny. Like, he's a hilarious guy. I have no doubt he actually believes he's right about everything too, right? But, imagine Biden tweeted, Biden was right about everything. How would Jordan Peterson react? How dare you? It's absurd. It's incredibly narcissistic of you to say that when we all know that that's not accurate. But when Trump does it, here, let's check. Let's be fair. Let's check to see if let's see if he said anything about that. No, doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like he said anything. So, comparing a Trump post, comparing a Biden post to an way more ridiculous Trump post, and where's his anger? I mean, he's made it very clear, right? It's demonic. I'm sorry, but when I look at this, what I see is, I'm going to just go after a Democrat for anything and everything they do because they're Democrats. And, the extension of that is I'm going to defend Republicans for anything and everything they do because they're Republicans, right? And it's like, I don't know. It just strikes me as so deeply anti-intellectual, even though this guy fancies himself the world's, leading intellectual. This isn't a serious response. This is like I'm going to go after you no matter what response. And, it drives me crazy because, guys, we talk about this all the time, right? Do you have any idea how many legitimate criticisms there are of Joe Biden? We bring him up on this show all the time. The biggest criticism you can and should have of him is what he's doing in Gaza. Arming and funding the genocide of Gaza. That's the biggest criticism. There's other legitimate criticisms too, letting all the pandemic social safety net expansions go away, which drastically hurt people economically, which then led to a massive downturn in his poll numbers. There's so many legitimate criticisms. The number of legitimate criticisms the right has made against him, donut, nothing. All the good criticisms come from the left. And this is just such a great example of it right here.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.